The Magical North by Martin Bissett. Inspired by a story by Steven Bissett told on Christmas Eve, 1980. The hands of the school clock reached 3:15 p.m. as the sky darkened outside. It was the last day of term before the Christmas holidays. The primary school play was done. The decorations were up at home, and the letters to Father Christmas must have reached the North Pole by now. Six friends: Kit, Ali, Scott, Neil, Ronnie, and Debs, known as the Cherry Tree Gang, all leave their school building holding the various Christmas crafts that they'd made in school that week. They exit the gate and walk up and around the back lane. Their conversation fizzes with how excited they all are about Christmas time. Over the weekend that follows, they all play out together on the playing field at the bottom of their street. They even explore the stream behind the houses that reaches right the way up to the old farmhouse. Although they have lots of fun and laughter, it seems to take forever for Christmas Eve to arrive. Kit, most of all, cannot stand the wait. She feels like she's going to burst with excitement. How can we know that we're going to get what we asked for? Questions Ronnie. Oh, I hadn't thought of that, replied Debs, a little disappointment creeping into her voice. Well, I know I've been good, chimes Ali. Anyway, Father Christmas wouldn't let us down. He never lets anyone down. Yeah, but how can we know for sure? Asks Ronnie. There is no way, responds Neil. Scott, known for his wild ideas, couldn't resist stirring the conversation. You know what would be even more magical than Christmas Eve? Seeing Father Christmas's workshop. Ronnie rolled his eyes, but he couldn't resist finding out more. Oh, sure, Scott. Do you really think that we could, hop on our carts and race to the North Pole? Scott's idea widened. Why not? We're the Cherry Tree Gang, and we've faced bigger challenges before now. Forever enthusiastic about any adventure for the gang, Debs chimes in. What a brilliant idea! Imagine the story we'd have to tell when we came back from this one. Neil brought the voice of reason with him, and he was hesitant. But it's so far away, and it's Christmas Day tomorrow. We'll have to be back in time. I promise we'll be back in time, Scott assured them. Come on, guys. Just think. The North Pole. We've always wanted to see the North Pole. Once they had all gone to bed, all six children agreed to climb out of their bedroom windows and meet each other in the ginnel that links their street to the lane beneath the hills. They would leave their carts up there before they came inside for dinner that day. It was a cold, clear, crisp Christmas Eve. All six met at the agreed place at the agreed time. Kit had brought her comfort blanket and teddy because she was a little bit afraid, not to mention cold. Scott was waiting for them. Next to the six carts, he had laid out six special racing suits and helmets. Each suit and helmet were white, but had different coloured stripes on them. Scott asked them all to choose their colours. Once they had their racing suits on, they were all much warmer. Scott had told them that the first one to the North Pole gets to ask Father Christmas the first question. Neil asked how they'd know the way. Scott reassured them just to follow the brightest star over the hills. Scott told all the children that these carts were now powered by excitement. The more excited the children were, the faster the carts travelled. And that's how the race began. It wasn't long, though, before the youngest of the children became very discouraged by how difficult the course was and how far away from home they were getting. The more scared the whole gang became, the slower their carts travelled. Soon, there was an argument between the friends about turning back. They weren't so excited anymore. Scott and Neil, who were in the lead, slowed down and told the children just to follow them because they knew they'd find the way. Long after they'd left lands that they recognised, they travelled through dark forests following the brightest star, wherever they could see it, through any gap in the trees. Eventually, the children came to a clearing that was just snow and ice as far as they could see, with no tracks and no way forward. Deb shouted that she had told them that they should have turned back. Kit cuddled her teddy extra tight. Scott asked the gang if they believed that Father Christmas had his workshop at the North Pole. They all agreed that they believed. Scott asked the gang if they thought that Father Christmas would want them to be safe. They all agreed that he would. Scott asked the gang if they thought that Father Christmas would welcome them if they got there. Not all the gang was sure about that one, but they were tired, so they just nodded. Scott told them that if they believed, the way forward would appear. No sooner had he said that than the brightest star began to shine lighter and brighter until its rays sparkled all the way down to the snow. As the gang looked on, the rays turned into a long, straight, smooth road that led directly to the star. Head for the star, instructed Scott. With brand new levels of excitement, all 6 carts raced up the long, straight, smooth road toward the star as it got brighter and brighter in their eyes. "I can't see," squealed Kit. "Head straight for it," confirmed Scott. All 6 carts raced right up to and right through the brightest star. It felt like they had driven up a huge ramp, and they landed on the other side of the star, on top of a mountain. Below them, they could see the tiny lights of a village lit up amongst the snow, with smoke rising from chimneys on the rooftops. The smell of the smoke mixed with the cool of the air in their noses. As they began their descent into the village, they noticed signs suddenly appearing regularly to point the way that they needed to go. Quickly and easily, they reached the workshop. None of them could take in quite how amazing it was to be there. They were surrounded by snow, yet all of them felt toasty warm inside. Parking their carts and removing their helmets, they nervously approached the door to the workshop. A beautiful woman appeared at the door and asked them if they were the Cherry Tree Gang. They all nodded excitedly. The beautiful woman took them towards the toys. So many toys. And Scott thought that he could hear the laughter of Father Christmas coming from the door that they were all walking towards. Looking back at the others, he reminded them, "Don't forget, I get to ask the first question." They walked through the door, and there he was, exactly as they had all imagined him to look. He looked back at them, with smiling eyes and raised eyebrows. Scott began to open his mouth. Then he decided that Kit should go first. Kit looked delighted, but shocked the whole gang when she told Father Christmas that what she wanted most for Christmas was for her mummy and daddy to get along. The shock continued when Ronnie said that he'd asked for his brother to stop being bullied by some kids at his high school. The room fell silent. Debs went next and told everyone that this year she'd asked for her teacher, who'd been absent a lot recently, to feel better. Ali then had the courage to speak up and admitted that she'd asked for her mum to be waiting for her more often when she came home after school. Neil couldn't believe what he was hearing. Somewhat timidly, he told Father Christmas that he'd asked for Scott not to worry about his upcoming operation and that it would go well. Everyone stood in time-stopped silence. The whole gang looked towards Scott. Scott began to open his mouth again, but before he could speak, Father Christmas fixed his eyes with an understanding gaze and whispered, "I know." "You do?" countered Scott. "Of course," Father Christmas replied. "I read your letter." Scott looked around at his gang and said, "Wake up, Scott! Come on!" The gang all looked at him confused. The beautiful woman looked confused. Scott felt his shoulder shaking. "Come on, Scott! It's Christmas morning!" Scott opened his eyes to see his brother, Neil, knelt by his bed. Scott knew that what he'd asked Father Christmas for was waiting for him in the living room. Scott bounded downstairs and enjoyed the greatest Christmas day that he would ever have.